where you cross the creek on the old stepping log.
So today we're happy to welcome Jody Marshall. We met Jody through Carrie Creed, and many of you guys know Carrie Creed as a folk musician. She's won several MASC awards herself, and she's been a judge in the past. This year, Carrie entered a song that was written by Jody's mother, Jessie, and the song's called Wait for Me, My Polly. It actually, unfortunately, did not win one of our top prizes this year, but it just goes to show you how many great songs are entered in the contest. And several of the judges actually mentioned this song in particular as one that they liked. So, Jody, can you tell us a little bit about the history of that song and your mother and anything else you want to share?
I'd be happy to. My mother, we entered this song hoping, it would be recognized in time for my mother to appreciate it. She was 100 when we lost her on Thanksgiving. She had written the song as a result of a dream. She said she dreamed it, and she did not share it with anybody except for me. She sang it to me, and then she sang it to Carrie, and she had no musical training. So I took the song, fleshed it out, gave it a structure, arranged it, and we surprised her with it on her 99th birthday. 99th. Yeah, and Carrie was the lead singer, and we layered on some harmonies.
And what was your mom's reaction?
She burst into tears, as did Carrie and I, because we were listening to it with her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I noticed in one of your emails that you sent to us earlier, you described your mother as having a deeply musical soul, which really stuck out for me. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, she, was of a generation that she just, everybody else's needs were more important than hers. So she was a full-time wife and mom, and she had no outlet for her creative impulses. And she was always, I remember growing up, she always had a song on her lips. She would vacuum and sing. I learned a lot of songs just hearing her sing along to her vacuuming and washing dishes. Right. And she had such a lyrical sense of melody without having had any kind of training at all, no music lessons. And she was a good singer too. My dad used to drag her to parties. She was a little bit introverted, but very warm and friendly. He would drag her to parties and make her get up and sing, which she dreaded, but she always, did a good job. And then later he dragged me along with her, and I'd sing harmony with her.
That's great.
Yeah. So she wrote, I would say probably a half a dozen songs of different genres, and she thought of Wait for Me, My Polly as a sort of a country song.
Right. And it has hammered dulcimer on it, which I'm assuming you were playing. Is that right?
Yes.
And right.
I enlisted the talents of Jim Queen on guitar and fiddle.
Oh, okay.
And, Carrie and I layered on the harmonies.
Great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing musically these days? I think you're in your studio where you give lessons, right?
Yes, I do private. Now it's all online lessons, but people used to come here, and hopefully will someday again, to hammer dulcimer lessons. I don't teach piano, although I play piano. And I have been involved with a number of online music festivals, focusing on various traditional instruments, dulcimers and other traditional instruments. And I've always working on, I love to arrange music, so I'm always working on arrangements for hammer dulcimer and books, things like that.
Books. Great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Talk a little bit about, because one of our themes for this year is generational music families. And talk about music a little bit, about what it's meant to you and the through line of music in your family's life.
Okay, so growing up, as I mentioned, my dad was a jazz guy, and he gigged a lot. And I feel like I absorbed a lot of influences. I absorbed the harmonies, the rhythms of jazz. And then my siblings are both a lot older than me. My brother was into rock, So I absorbed that just listening to him play his records, the Beatles and, that kind of thing. My sister's not particularly musical, and she got married when I was pretty young, so she doesn't get any credit for that. But, and so my dad, he would come home late, like 2 a.m, bring a big pizza with him. And so we'd all have pizza sometimes in the wee hours. So to this day, I'm still a night owl. And sometimes he'd bring his buddies home, and they'd go downstairs in the basement, and they would just jam. And so at the time, sometimes I didn't appreciate it too much because I had to get up and go to school the next day. But now I wish I had gone down, gotten out of bed and gone down. He brought the Ink Spots home one night. They were doing some gig somewhere together.
Wow.
And I was just like, I can't sleep. But, that it was a different kind of childhood.
Yeah.
And my mother never had any way of expressing her musicality. So that's what I hoped to present, to help her with, was give her creativity some expression when we decided to record her song.
If you do anything during the year, after you get your website organized, keep pushing that stuff at us, because we can at least try to annoy all our people with what you're doing. And and that might get some heat and light headed in your direction.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't often think about, songwriters as being as interested in people who are primarily instrumentalists, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, I think that songwriters are just not interested in other songwriters. They love instrumentalists.
That's a good point, Jay.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, I can imagine there are probably like 30 or 50 people who would hire you to just hammer dulcimer on the recordings and stuff if they.
Oh, I love doing studio work. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like,
right.
If we put you in people's heads, then they'll think of you as a resource to do that. And it's such a great it's such a great color. The hammer dulcimer is such a great color to put into a recording or into an arrangement of a song that I would imagine we will tickle some people with that.
Well, that's great. I think it's sort of underutilized because it's more versatile than people know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have any relationship with anyone who they might have met someone once, but they're not around it. And if you're not around it, you don't imagine putting it in your songs.
Right, it's not part of your paradigm. So yeah, that's a good
right.